My car will go faster with high octane. Will yours? Probably not. Wait, what? Hola! I'm Mike, the backyard mechanic. Octane. Does it make your car go faster? It makes the Mustang go faster. Not only that, but my 2023 Mazda CX-9 with the Skyactiv G Turbo will also go faster. How does this work? Is Octane a magic go-fast ingredient? Can I pour a bottle of this stuff in the tank and go set records at the drag strip? Well, no, it's not magic. It's chemistry, and there's a nuance to all these things. In this video, I'll tell you what octane even is, discuss different fuel types, I'll explain the cooling effect, E85 ethanol, oxygenation and different types of fuel, stoichiometric ratios, I'll expose several myths, and finally, how octane makes the Mustang go fast. What makes me an expert on the subject? I worked in a gas station back in the day. With full service, yeah, I did that whole check your oil, ma'am thing.
Our first visit. Getting close to a lube job, ma'am.
And I grew up when leaded gas was common.
That's why gasoline manufacturers add tetraethyl lead in order to meet the requirements of today's engines.
I can't say that makes me an expert, but it was a lived experience.
Michael, lead is a potent neurotoxin. How much do you think you breathed during your formative years?
As much as anyone. That leaded gasoline thing was just a conspiracy theory that went...
Went where?
Huh?
Michael, I think you should get tested.
Octane. What the heck even is it? Octane is a fuel's resistance to knock. This is an example of spark knock. A knock is an uncontrolled detonation from unburned fuel. It's not surprising if you confuse spark knock with pre-ignition, which sound identical but are very different conditions. Pre-ignition comes from a hot spot in the cylinder that causes the fuel to detonate before the piston is at top dead center. This only lasts a few minutes, because then your engine dies. Pre-ignition is a mechanical failure and is not the topic. With spark knock, however, you could potentially drive thousands of miles before it starts to do damage, although I do not recommend doing that. Spark knock is from the cylinder compression detonating unburnt fuel after the spark has ignited the fuel mixture and the piston is past top dead center. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, the canthal tilt of your eyes are looking very hunter-like. And thank you. I've been doing my eye-pulling exercises and my looks-maxing routine. But you're also thinking, how can the fuel explode when it's already exploding? Exploding twice? When the engine is running properly, the fuel doesn't explode, it burns. The spark starts a flame that travels across the cylinder at a controlled speed of around 50 meters per second. For my metric friends, that's 50 meters per second. This creates a smooth, steady rise in pressure that pushes the piston down firmly, like a cyclist pushing down a pedal, or a cop pushing my head down so I don't hit it on the squad car after being arrested for going so fast. Hypothetically, when that unburned gas gets compressed too hard and spontaneously ignites, it doesn't burn, it detonates or explodes at 1,000 meters per second, which is like taking a sledgehammer to the piston and cylinder walls, creating shock waves in the combustion chamber, which is the knocking sound. Raising the octane level will stabilize the fuel to keep it from detonating under pressure. I can explain octane with a joke. Mitt?
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Detonation. Who?
You'll get it, and then you'll laugh.
What are we laughing at?
When we think about power, we think about fuel types, right? Like premium for sports cars, E85 for turbocharged or supercharged vehicles, or methanol for race cars. If that's the case, this chart will surprise you. Of these four fuel types, regular 87 octane gas has the most energy per gallon, even more than premium, although only by a slight amount. It turns out that energy per gallon translates to fuel efficiency, not speed or power. That's why dragsters don't use gas from Quick Trip. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, your skin is looking positively radiant. Thank you. It's my new skin cream. It's 50% oil, 10% plastic, 5% lead.
Michael, what else might they be thinking?
Oh, you're also thinking you first said your Mustang goes faster with premium gas and now said premium gas isn't as powerful. It's not about energy density. Fuel power potential is determined by knock resistance and its cooling effect. The cooling effect is worth talking about since it is a major factor. Liquid fuel does not burn. It needs to vaporize into a gas state first. When a liquid evaporates, it steals the energy from the surroundings in the form of heat. This is basic thermodynamics. It absorbs heat from the intake air, the intake valve, the piston crown, and the combustion chamber walls. That makes the incoming air charge cooler. More cooling equals more knock resistance and has more stability, which allows more compression and more power.
Michael, that was very dramatic.
Thank you. E85 is an interesting animal. In 1972, the government needed a way to replace the lead in gasoline and supplement our supply during the gas crisis. Richard Nixon saw Granny putting her moonshine in their truck and came up with the idea to put it in our cars.
Michael, that is not true.
It's absolutely true.
That was complete fabrication.
That's true. I'll talk more about the history of ethanol and why we use it in a future video. For now, we're just going to refer to how it affects your performance, and pure ethanol is 108 octane, so its use case is obvious. There's a reason most gas has 10% ethanol. It's a good octane booster replacement for lead. Ethanol has 25% more power potential, although the inverse is that it loses about 25% in miles per gallon. As a side note, E15 is exactly what it sounds like, 15% ethanol, slightly cheaper, slightly less miles per gallon, and slightly less interesting. The Dodge Challenger SRT Demon 170 on 91 octane made 900 horsepower. If you put E85 in it, the computer detected the ethanol and automatically cranked the horsepower up to over 1,000. E85 requires large injectors, a fuel system upgrade, and the engine tuned for how to handle it, so don't put it in your car. One of the reasons E85 allows for so much power? Oxygen. Gas has no oxygen in it. Seems obvious, right? Why is that important? The limiting factor in power is almost always about how much oxygen you can pack into the cylinder. Fuel is just there to react with that oxygen. Normally, air brings the oxygen and fuel burns with it. An exception is ethanol, which is about 35% oxygen by weight. That means part of the oxygen needed for combustion is already chemically built into the fuel molecule. The fuel is partially pre-oxidized, kind of like Lance Armstrong's blood.
Oh my.
Too soon? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, do you dope your blood? I do. It's essentially looks maxing for my internal stamina. That's how I'm able to walk across a Walmart without getting tired. But you're also thinking, why not just add more fuel for more burn and more power? And you're also thinking, now is a good time to talk about the stoichiometric ratio. No, I know you weren't thinking that. In internal combustion engines, the specific air-to-fuel ratio where all fuel is burned using all available oxygen and avoiding a too rich or too lean fuel mixture is the stoichiometric ratio.
Michael, your last video saw a drop in retention when you used big words.
Really? Aw, I just learned that word today. In gasoline, both regular and premium, the stoichiometric ratio is 14.7 to 1. So to answer your question from earlier, can you just increase the fuel for more power? Well, actually, yes. It's how engines work. 14.7 to 1 is just a chemically perfect mix for gasoline, but engines don't make the best power there. Under full throttle, they actually run richer, about 12 to 1. Because extra fuel cools the combustion chamber and prevents knock. To be clear, more fuel to a point means more power, but less gas mileage and worse emissions. Less fuel to a point means better gas mileage, but the engine is running hotter and has less power and is more prone to knock. This is where E85 gets interesting because it has an oxygen content of 35% as opposed to gasoline 0%. This allows for a stoichiometric ratio of 9.8 to 1. This means more fuel. More fuel means more cooling, less knock, which allows more compression and more power. This works especially well in turbo and supercharged engines. So how does my 2010 Mustang GT go faster with higher octane? It doesn't. I lied.
What?
But it worked. I got you this far, didn't I? It's actually dual capable with the use of knock sensors. With higher octane, no knocking is detected and the car runs on its factory tuned settings. With 87 octane and the vehicle under load, if the ECU detects knocking, it reduces the power by changing the timing. And the engine smooths out because the Mustang is retarded.
Michael, I don't like that.
Sorry, the Mustang is timing challenged. The Mustang gains 10 horsepower with premium gas. It's not a very exciting amount because it's a naturally aspirated engine. However, my Mazda CX-9 is dual tuned. Thanks to the turbo with premium, it gains 25 horsepower, which you would definitely feel in the seat of your pants. About half the cars today take regular gas with no benefits from using premium. This would be cars like the Toyota Camry and RAV4, Honda Civic and CR-V standard models, Nissan Altima and Rogue, and almost all trucks except for the high outputs like the Ford Raptor. There's still about a quarter of the market that is premium required. These are most BMWs, Mercedes, and Audi. 15% of the market, like my Mustang and Mazda, are dual rated. They are designed to run on both with 2 specs. About 10% is premium recommended, which is similar to dual rated, but it's considered more of a limp mode when using regular. Lexus RX 350, Acura MDX, and the Hemi Dodge Challenger are all in this group. 10 years ago, the regular-only group was closer to 80% as opposed to today's 50%. The reason the dual-rated and premium categories are growing is due to the turbocharger and to make cars more sellable to the average person who doesn't want to pay $1 more per gallon. We'll talk about that in a future video. Myth. More octane means more energy. Reality. Of course not. That's what this video has been about. Haven't you been paying attention? Busted. Myth. Premium improves fuel economy. Reality. Much like the first myth, this has been addressed, but specifically, gasoline energy translates to miles per gallon, not speed. If anything, high octane has slightly less energy or BTUs than regular, so the opposite is true. Myth. Octane cleans your engine. Reality. Octane is not a detergent. The origin of this myth is Shell and its V-Power additive and its premium gas. The truly deceptive part is they don't seem to add detergents to their regular gas, trying to manipulate you into buying their premium at a premium price. Marketing often implies that the lower grade fuel leaves engines dirty. However, the EPA mandates that all gasoline must contain enough detergents to prevent harmful deposit buildup. We'll talk about that topic in a future video. Myth. A bottle of octane booster converts 87 into 93. Reality. Most retail boosters raise octane from 0.1 to 0.5, not full numbers. 5 points typically means 0.5 octane. I did not do a deep dive into octane boosters, but from what I read, they are not exactly snake oil, they do work. But the chemicals used, like MMT, are extremely hard on your engine. Myth. Mixing regular and premium is bad. Reality. Mixing fuels simply results in a blended octane value. In fact, mid-grade gas at the pump is not coming from a dedicated storage tank. It's coming from 2 tanks and combining 50% regular and 50% premium, just like a soft-serve twisty ice cream. Myth. Europe has higher octane than the US. Reality. It's the same, but measured on a different scale. The research octane number, or RON, simulates light load, mild driving. The motor octane number, or MON, simulates high load, high temperature operation. Europe posts RON only. The US posts the anti-knock index, or AKI, which is RON plus MON divided by 2. If you ever noticed on the pump buttons in the US, it shows the AKI math. Now you know what the hell that means. Okay, so when does premium matter? Before addressing when premium is important, did you like the thumbnail for this video? Then like this video. That is, if you like the video and not just the thumbnail. The footage from making this thumbnail was kind of funny and I thought my friends would get a kick out of it. And the video is on my Patreon. Sign up! It's currently absolutely free. It costs you nothing. You'll get a weekly email reminding you when my video comes out, plus occasional Patreon exclusives like this. There are a few of them up there now.
I thought the Patreon video was very funny, Michael.
Oh, you saw it?
Yes.
Mitt, you're not telling the truth.
Michael, I'm incapable of lying and only provide honest and reliable information.
You're making all this up, aren't you?
Okay, that part is true.
Should you be using premium gas? Chances are you should know, because if your car requires it, it's on the gas filler door. If it says recommended, then you don't have to use it. You can use regular and the ECU will slow your car down, possibly by as much as 25 horsepowers. Premium is usually $1 more a gallon and can be an extra $20 for every fill-up. If that $20 is more important to you than passing that car, or more importantly, doing a proper burnout, then go for it. If it says required, then you should be using premium, or over time you can damage your engine. That said, when I bought the 2006 Lexus IS250 in 2018, I didn't know it was premium until a few days later. I put mid-grade in it and ran it with no knocks in spite of my spirited driving. Although Mrs. Backyard Mechanic doesn't call it spirited, she calls it breaking the law. Do I use premium in the Mustang? Nah. 10 horsepower for $1 a gallon isn't worth it to me. If I ever do the long-planned engine upgrades, then I probably will, but otherwise priorities have gotten in the way of cold air intakes and tunes. Do I use premium in the Mazda CX-9? Nah. Mrs. Backyard Mechanic drives that car. Well, not as spirited as I do. It would be a waste of money. Hey, if you like this video and you want to see more, you saw my teasers, hit subscribe. There's a lot more to discuss on gasoline, like...
Michael, is it the lead poisoning? Michael, you have a fan online. Hey fan, did you like the video?
Wow, that lead poisoning explains a lot. Were you breastfed or did you suckle on a tailpipe?
Hit subscribe!
We did subscribe already.
Oh. Like this video!
Michael, you should rest. To the fans, please tune in every other Wednesday, noon Eastern.
Oh!
If you like this video, you'll enjoy this video from Michael's other channel on how he accidentally weakened the shed.
Thanks, fan!
You're welcome, Michael.
High octane? That sounds like an exciting topic with lots of energy. Did your video do that? I fell asleep. You know what else uses gas? All those gardeners in my neighborhood with their weed whackers. I turned down the volume on your podcast to listen to them. It was much more pleasant. Wow, talk about a high octane premium performance, pedal to the metal, full combustion, firing on all cylinders, throttle wide open, rocket fueled performance. Oh, that was a different podcast. Yours was completely out of gas.